talking about get organized. Get organized, Marty.
Give me a close sample. How many of you have spent over a minute looking for a digital file this week? How about over 5 minutes looking for a digital file this week? Many of you are like my clients, entrepreneurs who wear many hats, you do lots of things for work. So every minute that goes by in the week is valuable. You have 1 minute looking for a file, 5 minutes looking for a file, but you do it 10 times a day, maybe 15 times a day, it starts to add up for you. Many people struggle with the idea of even organizing. How do we do this? The digital world has presented a whole new set of problems. Just because it's easier doesn't mean it's going to work better. So I'm going to take you on an example of using some of the old school technology, file cabinets and papers, to understand how to better build your own organization in the digital world. I have a client named Elaine. Took me a while to say her name. She's in Toronto. So she's got that Quebec French name going on. Elaine is an entrepreneur who has a lot of vendors but no employees. And she spends most of the day working on various client projects, which involve a lot of files that the clients might send her, as well as giving feedback and sending files out to other vendors. Ken, you work in a similar industry. We have to send things out and get things back. Your organization is paramount to how fast and how well you're going to actually produce on this. So Elaine and I were talking about the various tools that she should be using. Anybody here use Dropbox or Google Drive? All right. We started to explore her Google Drive and discovered that there wasn't really an order to the file folders. And not only that, she was hunting for everything. You know what I mean by hunting? It's like you don't really know the name or where it is, so you just keep going for it. And everything ends up looking like that kitchen junk drawer that you have, where you just shoved everything you could into that space. And there's no rhyme or reason to the organization, and when you need something, you go to that drawer, then you give up on it, and you decide that I'll clean that drawer when I move out of the house. This is quite often how we treat our computer. My hard drive will be clean when it crashes and I have to buy a new computer. That's why we have 7 copies of the same file in our downloads folder, and our desktop really looks like that kitchen junk drawer. So there's a couple ways that you could organize a little bit better using some of the old school techniques of file cabinets. Remember file cabinets? Actual file cabinets? Those big physical things? Quite often our clients, when I start saying things like folder hierarchy, start falling asleep on me. So we use this analogy of the file folders and file cabinets, where you have these nice large file cabinets in your office. Now each file cabinet can represent a different folder or a different department. So that first file cabinet might be HR, the next one might be sales, and you might have some operations going on in there. And that's kind of our first level of folders going down in our digital life, right? We have that first thing is company, the next one is all our different departments. And even as a solo entrepreneur, you still want to kind of departmentalize what's going on. Honestly, you don't throw any files directly into a file cabinet, do you? Like, there's got to be some, there's not just like one space, you open it up and throw files in, it's kitchen junk drawer again. So we want to use that same kind of logic, where then we actually bring in the drawers. And the drawers start representing little breakdowns of the actual department. So HR might have employees, payroll taxes, things like that. Again, we wouldn't want to throw papers directly in a drawer without any organization, because we're still at the kitchen junk drawer problem. So what's our third level? It's simple. We actually put hang folders in drawers, right? So those hang folders that represent our first level of real organization. In the HR example, it would be employees and their names, perhaps, right? So you'd have Batya, Marty. That's a hang folder. Simple enough, that gives us our first place we can actually throw files and not feel like the kitchen junk drawer. We can throw files into those hang folders and we're good to go. Now, there's another level, right? We get to a certain part where a hang folder can get really full, so we might want to organize it a little bit further, and this is kind of a flexible thing. We can choose to do this or not. And because it's flexible, I like using the idea of manila folders. Remember those? Little labels on top? So we typically say if you got 3 to 5 files, throw them in a manila folder, or a new digital folder underneath that hang folder. Start getting the idea here, it's actually really simple. You can actually go through all the various file cabinets that you have in your company and start organizing this way. Now there are much more benefits to doing this beyond just getting slightly organized. You also have the ability in today's day and age to share with pinpoint precision, right? It's like keys on that file cabinet. I can lock out certain people. I can give you a set of keys for that drawer. I can give you a set of keys for a specific folder. It's a greater advantage to actually organizing and securing stuff. Right? The last thing I'd like to point out in this organization structure is naming your files. This kind of goes back to the beginning of hunting for things, right? We start digging, click on 10 folders deep. This could sound completely terrifying to go 10 folders deep in something and have to look for something all the time. Well, today's day and age, we are lucky. We don't have to hire your little brother or your little sister to come in and file. Remember anybody remember having a job with their parents, like you had to file all the time? We don't have to do that anymore. What we have is search. And I'd like you to consider the fact that whether you like it or not, Google has made you a search junkie. You search for everything all the time. But how do you search for things? Keywords, right? Specific things. So I would like you to consider naming your files with specific keywords along the way. The way that you'd like to retrieve them later, so that you don't have to go digging through all of the files in the file folder, you can actually type in the keyword of that particular file. And some people push back at me, well, if you have great file names, why do you need file folders? It goes back to those keys. You want to make sure certain files are in certain places. And we do like to organize them in advance and make sure that there is some logic, but sometimes we might want to hunt. We might want to just clean things up. But really, the example is to go old school. Take your digital life. Don't forget about the file cabinets that existed in the past. Use that mentality of how you'd like to organize it. And then you'll start getting faster. And those file retrieval will happen if you use search in 10 seconds. Now 10 seconds doesn't seem like a lot, but if you do this 20, 30 times a day, you're saving yourself minutes, if not hours, every week. And Elaine, my client, actually found this to be extraordinarily true because she started filing everything and organizing things in the right place and naming them correctly. She was able to retrieve them much quicker, and her project started moving a little bit faster. And she gained the valuable time of clearing all this wasted time to work on the things that gave her clients the best benefits she could possibly give them, ultimately leading to way more customer satisfaction. So I'd highly recommend taking 10 to 15 minutes a week to just start thinking about this and creating your own file cabinets. Thank you.